someone from far to come around to time, uprising to joy. You were chosen, you were called, you were sent to this land to accomplish the will of God. You stood by my side, show me the light, told me to fight for I will alive. By you left us too soon.
Now it's hard to say goodbye to you, mama. You are gone, but never forgotten, mama. We'll always remember you. You are our hero.
We always treasure your love. You are fine. We stay in our hearts. When God had the pride, decided to choose someone from far to come around to time, uprising to joy. You were chosen, you were called, you were sent to this land to accomplish the will of God.
They say hero never dies, and this truth don't take it as a lie. You are not still here with us, and we are now asking God why you passed away. Grandma, may God give you to rest in peace. You are an angel of SYV. You gave us love, you gave us life. You showed us the key to the success. We'll be the ones to finish what you started, and the ones to accomplish what you said.
Neeman, we promise you to be the people you wanted us to be. We cherish your kindness, we cherish your empathy. We never forget you, 'cause you restore the rhythm of our lives.
When God had the cry, decided to choose someone from far to come around to time, uprising to joy. You were chosen, you were called, you were sent to this land to accomplish the will of God.
Ari, I think you can share your screen.
נשלח לך לטלפון? אולי נשלח לך לטלפון את הזימון, ואז תוכל...
Ronnie, תעשה mute. רגע.
It says screen sharing has been.
No? Okay, let's try.
The screen sharing has been.
Try now?
Here we go.
I think we should start. Done. Well, welcome back to another episode of Africa Shine On. I'm your host, Yossi Abramowitz. From the second that Golda Meir, as foreign minister in 1958, began a 5-nation tour of Africa, there's been an on again, off again, and now super on again love affair between Israel and Africa. And when it comes to Rwanda, it's hot. It's beshert, as we say. I come to Africa really through the solar energy lens, and soon you'll see a video of what Chaim Motzer and I were able to do in solar energy in Rwanda. Israel has the potential to be a superpower of goodness in Africa through our industries of goodness, like water, clean energy, agriculture, medical. We'll hear a very innovative agricultural innovation that was brought to Rwanda. This isn't a place for politics. Our goal is friendship, and to use that friendship to be able to lift up human dignity in an imperfect world. We are all citizens of imperfect countries. So let's work together to make the world a better place, especially for the most vulnerable people, and especially at this most vulnerable moment in history. Previous shows of Africa Shine On have explored the special relationships with Zambia, Ethiopia, Kenya, South Sudan. Today, special edition, Rwanda. I came to love Rwanda through my friend and teacher, Ann Heyman, because she loved Rwanda, and she was the living bridge between the Jewish people and Rwanda via the Agahozo Shalom Youth Village, which you'll hear more about. We dedicate this program to her special memory, and we'll hear soon from JC, the village director. We have a very special show for you today. We get to feature His Excellency, Ambassador Joseph Rutabana, who I get to call Ambassador Yosef with his permission, and his counterpart, who is the happiest ambassador in the world, doing a great job in Kigali, Ambassador Rani Adam. And if there's time at the end, we'll try to sneak in Foreign Minister Gabi Ashkenazi. With that, welcome. This is a show produced in cooperation between Energiya Global, as well as Herzog Fox Neeman and Society for International Development Israel. Janet, please share some words, and then Alon.
Sure, great. Thank you, Yossi. Rwanda, what a turn on. This is a great turnout. I think Shine on Africa is getting even brighter, Yossi. And it shines on Destination Africa, Continent of Tomorrow. That's an initiative that we started about 3 years ago to explore opportunities, challenges, and partnerships between Israel and countries in Africa. I'm Janet Bachima from Herzog Fox Neeman. We're the largest firm in Israel, and I run international corporate transactions. But I think what's more important for our conversation is I run our impact investment practice area, which fits in with our cooperation with SID and government and other NGOs and companies in our Destination Africa series. So here we are continuing on our digital journey, this time to Rwanda. You know, when the world thinks of Rwanda, mountain gorillas are sometimes one of our first images. Or maybe we focus on the 1994 genocide. But after today, I really hope you'll have many other images that become top of mind. Ambassador Ron Adam opened the Israeli embassy in Rwanda just over a year ago, taking residence in Kigali. Soon after that, there were direct flights before, unfortunately, the skies have closed to air traffic. But today we'll hear what's happening on the ground and how we can all fit in. Just for housekeeping, we've had a record number of registrants, so we had to limit the Zoom participation and allow people to watch live on Facebook. We're gonna have everyone on mute, but if you have a comment or question, please feel free to use the chat box, the bottom of your screen, to post questions, and we'll try to get them answered by our speakers. We are truly honored to be joined by our ambassadors to Rwanda and from Rwanda, Ambassador Ron Adam and His Excellency Joseph Rutabana, and some very, very special guests today. So let's get started.
Thank you. You guys are great. Alon.
Hi, how are you?
Fine.
Can you hear me, or
yes,
bad reception, connection?
I can hear you.
So Yossi, great, Yossi, Janet, thank you all, and thank you, Mr. Ambassador, here in Herzliya, if I remember right. We visit your office, yes. And Ronnie, yes. And our friends in Kigali that joined us. So I will just say briefly that first, we are very happy for the opportunity to cooperate with Herzog Fox Neeman and with Energiya Global, and we really are trying on a daily basis to promote practical relations and cooperations between Israelis and partners in countries in Africa. And mainly we see those opportunities and those gatherings as a first step, because we are aiming, together with Yossi and with Janet and with other partners, to try and bring around the table Israelis and their potential local partners from Rwanda in order to explore how we can bring them together to do actual and practical work on the ground. So we will be happy to treat or to consider this webinar today as a beginning, and we hope to continue soon by bringing people to actual cooperation on the ground. So thank you.
Thank you. So at this point, nobody wants to hear us talk, Your Excellency. Really, Ambassador Yosef, I'll extend the privilege. Hopefully all protocol is observed enough, but we want to hear from you. We want to hear about you, your family, how long you've been in Israel. What's the experience like representing Rwanda in Israel? The floor is yours.
Thank you very much, my dear friend Yosef Abramovich, for first of all inviting me on this platform. I also take this opportunity to thank your partners, Herzog, Fox, and Neeman, and the Society for International Development, Israel branch. I also salute the panelists and all who are following us. Regarding my brief background, as already said, I'm the current ambassador of Rwanda to the state of Israel since 2015. But I'm also accredited as non-resident ambassador of Rwanda to Cyprus. I served in the past in other countries as a diplomat, but before this current appointment, I served as the permanent secretary of Rwanda in the Ministry of Defense of Rwanda. I would also say that I have the honor to have participated in the Liberation War, which stopped the genocide against the Tutsi in Rwanda in 1994. I've got a bachelor degree in French and Political Science from Makerere University in Uganda. But I also pursued a master's degree program in security studies at University of Pretoria in South Africa. I'm married to Aline Chichiwawe, and we are blessed with 3 sons. As of
But hold on, your son, I think, studied at the same school where my daughter was, right? Or did I meet him at the international school or at IDC?
ADC?
I met one of your children.
I have 3 boys. 2 have already gone to university. One is in the US in Tampa University, Florida. The second one is in Canada, and the last born is with us here in Yehuda in the American school.
Right, the American school. So what's
Yes.
it like? What's it like for them being Rwandan with you in the state of Israel? What are some of the highlights?
As you actually mentioned before, my impression and our impression of Israel as a family is a very good impression. We are very much impressed by what is happening in Israel. Israel is a startup nation, innovations, high tech. Alon mentioned that my office is in Energiya Global. And just across my office here, you will see all the multinational big companies having their R&D centers. Talk of Apple just across my office, Microsoft, Intel, General Motors, to mention a few. So Israel is a very interesting country with innovations. We talked about agriculture, drip irrigation, for example. We'll talk about it. It's smart irrigation. The waste waters recycling, #1 in the world. If you talk about engineering, robotics, AI, so very, very attracting for young boys like mine and for myself.
Wonderful. So you said a lot of nice things about Israel. I want to say a couple of things about Rwanda, but then hand it back to you because this may be the first introduction of many of our viewers to Rwanda. But I have to say, Rwanda is a clean country. You were the first to ban plastic bags and mean it, and we have a lot to learn from you. I think you're the only country that teaches entrepreneurship all the way through grade school. Even though we're a startup nation, I think you have your own innovation ministers and authority as well. And I've been very, very impressed. But if you can tell us a little bit about Rwanda, the size, the people, and a little bit of the relationship with Israel, I think that will set the scene, because then we're going to ask Maya to talk about one particular initiative. Go ahead, sir.
Thank you very much. First of all, Rwanda is a small country situated at the heart of Africa, in the center of Africa, about 26,338 square kilometers, almost the same size like Israel, which is about 20,000 square kilometers. The difference is Israel has about 9 million people. Rwanda, we have almost 13 million people. And this makes Rwanda one of the most densely populated country in Africa. Briefly, after the tragedy of 1994 genocide against the Tutsi, our first priority, the new leadership priority, was to establish security all over the country. At the same time, also reconcile the people. You can imagine after the genocide, over 1 million people killed. So reconciliation was key. But at the same time, the leadership embarked on economic recovery and economic development. So today, the good news is today Rwanda is one of the safest countries in Africa for tourism, but also for potential investors. I think for investment, you are the witness. You will show us the project by Energiya Global, Gigawatt Global. So very good conditions, conducive conditions for attractive conditions for investors. Please visit Rwanda after the confinement. You'll get the best treat after the confinement in the cleanest environment you can ever have. But also, apart from that, if I talk briefly about our relations with Israel, we have very excellent relations, and we reopened our embassy in 2015, as I mentioned, and immediately last year in April, Israel also reiterated reciprocated by opening the embassy when my dear friend Ron was appointed. But also I should mention that in July 2017, Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu visited Rwanda. He came to Africa, I think he was the first Prime Minister after more than 2 decades to visit Africa. And he had an official visit to Rwanda. And 1 year later, in July 2017, His Excellency Paul Kagame also came to Israel and had a very successful bilateral meeting. You mentioned Rwanda Air, one of the fruits of cooperation, has been operating direct flights 3 times a week before the corona crisis, and we hope very soon, when the sky reopen, we see it coming back to Ben Gurion Airport. We have also Rwandan students here who come for hands-on internship training in agriculture for the last 7 years or so. Currently, we've got 172 students doing that kind of training. We have a Mashal project established a few years ago for it's a center of excellence for horticulture, which help us to practice modern methods of farming, like greenhouse farming, irrigation, seedling production, and so on and so forth. But
So
also, maybe to finish, I'll mention that there is also an ongoing project. It's a private-public partnership between the government of Rwanda and Netafim being the lead, first of all, the inventors of drip irrigation. So we hope this project is going to revolutionize our agriculture in terms of commercial farming. In brief, I would say that those are the good relations between our countries, cooperation, but again, reminding you that visit Rwanda and you will not be disappointed.
Ambassador, we've had some interesting questions that are focusing on what is the government policy concerning converting petrol motorcycles to electric? I'm going to give you 3 questions and see if you can either answer all or see which ones you'd like to answer for us. Also, what's the government policy about dramatically increasing the amount of people with renewable energy that are available in Israel? You know, we have a goal of 30% by 2030, and we like to know the government's view in Rwanda. And the last one is if you can talk to us about women's empowerment in rural areas. And the reason why we've picked out all these 3 is because we have people in the audience that are very interested in pursuing all 3 of those.
Thank you. The first one, if I got you well, is about converting adopting the electric energy. The first question was.
So one has to do with energy. The other one is, I mean, the way a lot of us get around when we're out in the villages is on motorcycle, which are all petrol. So there are plans to convert. Maybe just answer 1 or 2 of those, because we have a special guest who has to leave, and we do want to show people the beauty, because you invited people to come see the beautiful country. So if you can answer 1 or 2 of those, we'll introduce Maya. We'll show a little bit of the landscape, and then we can get to some of the other questions.
Yes, we definitely we think that having being electrical motorbikes or electrical cars is the way to go in the future. And we've been having some first experiments of that. And it's working very well. And you know that VW has established its plant in Rwanda, and one of its line of production will be producing electrical cars. But also we have another project of having the motorbike, electrical motorbike. It's all in the policy of having good protection of environment policies. Environment protection, and Rwanda has been leading in this endeavor. I would say it's still in early stages, but that is the way to go, and that is our vision.
We just want to give Maya Severe a chance to say hello. And you did mention agriculture, and she's just Carolina, and we'd love to hear from her, because it relates to your questions, Janet. With the idea of doing pilots in Africa, my recommendation to everybody, start in Rwanda. Maya, you're welcome to share your experience.
Thank you, Yossi. Thank you, Sid. Thank you, Ambassador. It's nice to meet you. Jean-Claude, it's so nice to see you. I visited Jean-Claude about 6 years ago in Kigali. And before I say a few words about our project, I'd like to connect to what Janet mentioned. The first thought that comes to mind with me when I think of Rwanda is what we as Israelis have to learn. And that is the astonishing and humbling reconciliation process that this country took upon itself. I came, the director of a program, Just Spirulina. I'll tell you about it in a minute. But I'm also a writer, and my last book is exactly about that, the lessons that we can learn. So I think this is something also to think about when we talk about the relations between Rwanda and Israel. A few words about Just Spirulina. It is an enterprise that actually started a little bit over maybe 7 years ago in a high school in Tel Aviv. And to this day, our focus is making connections between young adults in Israel and young adults in communities in Africa. What we do is we bring the knowledge of spirulina. Spirulina is, I'll just say 2 sentences about it. It's a superfood. It's actually the most nutritious food that nature has to offer. And what is absolutely remarkable about it is that a very small amount can completely turn around an individual's nutritional status. For children, a teaspoon is enough a day, and for an adult, a tablespoon is enough. And it is both to treat malnutrition and to prevent malnutrition. So what we actually do is we grow spirulina in Tel Aviv in a high school. Our children, our students, become spirulina growing experts. And then we travel, we create a bond with a community in Africa. And our students are actually the ones to teach it. And actually we forge direct connections between the students. And I also would like to say that one of the things that we cherish most is our partnerships with communities in Africa, which are all based on partnerships between equals. And this is not only because we come to learn and not only to teach. For instance, in Rwanda, we learned so many things, but it is also because we create a chain of nutrition and solidarity. And each link in this chain is both a teacher and a learner, which means that after our students teach students at a school, say in the Democratic Republic of Congo, the next step would be for these children to teach another school or another university or another community. I would like just to share, Ambassador, that there is plenty of medical, clinical research that shows the radical difference that spirulina has, and all the major international institutions working to combat malnutrition have all said that spirulina is the answer. The problem is that those who consume spirulina today are the privileged ones. They are NASA astronauts and Olympic athletes and people who are health conscious in rich communities. But those who really need it for their survival can't afford it. So actually, our model is based on providing knowledge and training and spirulina so that every community can grow it for itself in a school, in a community center, in a health center. We had a wonderful beginning. I'll just, to finish, 6 years ago, we worked with a local NGO who unfortunately closed, so it didn't continue, but we worked with the city mayor of Kigali, the municipality, and the Minister of Youth and ICT, and we made great connections. We are now working in DRC, Ethiopia, Kenya, and Uganda, and we would love to continue. I think we have a lot to do, and we have a basis in Kigali.
Another great example of the innovation, and on the other side, like true partnership and professional ministers have always been impressed. Maya, thank you so much. Refresh the
Thank you.
as well to your
Thank you.
father.
I apologize. I have to leave for an emergency, but I will catch up. Thank you.
Thank you. So you kept hearing an invitation to come visit. So we'll do a virtual visit. Let's go to the videotape, please. Thank you.
Yes, we realize there's no sound. We're trying.
The land of 1,000 rolling hills, it is.
So I was right.
Called. And it is beautiful, and I had the privilege of taking my family to the national park in Lake Kiva, and you can do a 1 to 2 days safari, and it's just extraordinary. It's just extraordinarily.
Did you do the canopy walk?
No, I did not do that.
Next time.
Okay, if you're inviting, then I cannot refuse.
I did it with my family last time. Last summer. It's wonderful.
It is beautiful. What they did is that you know, after 1994, they had to reestablish a tourism industry, and so they brought in animals actually from some of the neighboring countries to create the national park, which is beautifully kept, and been there twice, so we loved it so much. So we encourage people to see. So, Your Excellency, when you think about the connection between Israel, the Jewish people, and Rwanda, what else do you hope to see? And then pretty soon we'll get to we'll show what we did with solar, and then we'll introduce the village. But what else would you love to see?
Me or Jesse?
Yeah. Well, what other projects? So, like when you finish your credentials here, when you finish your tenure here, what else would you like to accomplish with Israel and the Jewish people?
As I mentioned, Israel has impressed me. I talked about all the aspects of the startup nation, and I would like to continue it. I would like to see the cooperation continuing, and the transfer of knowledge, the transfer of technology from Israel to Rwanda, and also vice versa, seeing Rwandans coming to Israel. I talked about the project, for example, by Netafim, which is a big project, long-term project. I would like that to materialize and see the production, the yield per hectare increasing in Rwanda. It's amazing to see how innovative Israel has been in terms of agriculture. Exporting, I mean, you can imagine Israel is semi-arid. Some parts are almost desert, but exporting fruits, exporting vegetables to Europe. So I would like to see this transfer of knowledge happening. I didn't also mention in terms of tourism about Israel being also, I'm a Christian, and the big majority of Rwandans are Christians. One of also the good impressions I had in Israel is visiting the holy sites, like the old city in Jerusalem, cities like Nazareth or in the Galilee area. Many Rwandans come here to visit Israel. I would also like to see it continuing in the future. So in brief, definitely beyond my my stay in Israel, I would like to see the transfer of technology continuing, Rwandans coming to Israel, also having some exports from Rwanda to Israel in the future. So I'm looking forward to that.
So one of the nice surprises on my last trip is that there's the chocolate. I hadn't associated you with chocolate, and I think there's now a beginning to do so. So the milk chocolate was phenomenal, some of the best I've ever had. So I hope they bring it. So two projects that are very closely linked and close to my heart is the solar field in Agahozo Shalom, and we're going to want to show two videos, and they were both sort of early in the sense of the nurturing of the relationships, and really I think has given confidence both to the investor community as well as the NGO community that the place to start in Africa is in Rwanda. And when the United States launched the Power Africa program, we looked at all the countries in Africa, and we thankfully were able to choose, with the blessing of Shalom, to do the first solar field. So we'd like to show that, and that's a $24 million investment in your energy economy. So we can show that video, and then we'll see a little bit about it, and then we'll see the village.
icyizere cyarashize imbere yawe n'umwijima ariko humura byose bizashira
urwo warwanye mbere nirwo rwari rukomeye bityo ntago numva impamvu nari rwo rukunaniye sigaho kumanika amaboko niharagera abawe tukuri inyuma Uwiteka kikurora we wakoze biriya n'ibindi azabikora nijya kuremeye kuruha ntutinye umubabaro uzagera ushire tugacinye never give up my friend you got me
ihorere uri wenyine hari n'abakomerewe ndetse no kukurusha
Actually, I'm glad you mentioned the impact investors. Some of our investors had trouble getting in. They're on Facebook, and we, of course, welcome all of our investors who are on this. We couldn't have done it without them, but we couldn't have done it without the full cooperation of His Excellency the President. It was an honor to fulfill his vision, and he, as an important leader in Africa, was able to show the way for so many other countries. And one of the reasons we were willing and able to take the leap of faith really had to do because of Anne and the village and the leadership of the youth village. And for us, it was not just about business. It's a quadruple bottom line business. Like, it has to be good for investors, but we wanted a humanitarian impact. And here's a youth village, which also has medical bills that we wanted to try to figure out how to cover from revenue. Rwanda was 40% on diesel, and we plugged in the field and went down to 30%, helping you fulfill your international obligations and the spirit of environmentalism that is so important to your people. And it was also a great diplomatic strengthening because the contract is for 25 years, and for 25 years, those green electrons will be helping your development. And it was the first in Africa before the Paris Climate Summit, and it was the first time GDP growth was disassociated from emissions growth. We were able to add 6% of the energy to the grid without any emissions, and so that was important. But it really was the anchor of the youth village. And before we're privileged to have JC on from Kigali. But before that, the music that you've just heard and the music, The Hero Never Dies at the beginning, are the kids, the students in the village, incredibly talented, incredibly motivated. So we're going to meet them now on the video, and then we'll get to talk to JC. So Maria.
A place where everyone heals his or her own heart.
It's like my home.
It is a gift I have given by God.
It's the home of children.
A place full of opportunities.
It's where people who are orphans get to know that how does it feel having a parent.
25 years ago today, this country went into a genocide. The entire
Internet problems. Sorry about that.
Maybe,
we'll be back in a minute.
Say something briefly, Yossi and JC. JC won a year ago a special award during our Global Impact Award ceremony with the Israeli president for his contribution for changing the world. And it was a great pleasure to meet him in Tel Aviv. And by the way, just recently, before the corona, we had, as part of our cooperation with the president, a delegation that went to visit from the Jewish world and from Israel, who went to visit Rwanda for a study trip. So we are definitely trying to do more and more things in this important country.
Thank you, Alon. So JC, we'll start with you, and then we'll finish with the video. Tell us about yourself, and who are these amazing students? Where do they come from? Because when you're there, you feel like you're in a leadership academy, but that's not how they started. JC, you gotta unmute. Maria, can you help him?
Fortunately not. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is the sound okay now?
Yes. Yeah.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. It's such an honor, and I had the greatest honor of my life to come last year to receive the Global Impact Award, thanks to SID and Olam. And I've been with, my name is Jean-Claude Mulikim-Fura. I've been with Agahozo Shalom for 9 years. As of this month, on June 11th, I celebrated my 9th year at Agahozo Shalom. And when I joined, to be honest, I had never been into the education field. But meeting with Anne Heyman, I said to myself, if I can be 5% of who this woman is, then I know I can secure a place in heaven. So I'm still working on that, and I have a long way to go, but I've been around for 9 years, and hopefully I'll get that chance one day. So Agahozo Shalom was built in Kinyarwanda. Agahozo means drying tears. And so it was built as a response to the genocide against the Tutsi. Anne felt, when she learned about the genocide, and she felt that there should be a systemic way of addressing the issue of some of the most vulnerable kids, just as Israel did right after the Holocaust, taking them and bringing and building a community of meaning, recreating the next best possible family that the child should have had the parents been alive. And this is what this village represents to all of these kids. Over 60% of the kids we have at the village come from the lowest background in terms of poverty levels. They have lost parents. They have issues or challenges to have access to education. And so these are the children we take. They come in what we call here in Rwanda, we have a categorization of poverty, and they come from the lowest level of poverty. And also they do not come with the required grades, academic grades to go to high school. But in 4 years, we managed to successfully pass more than 98% of them, and over 74% are going to vocational training programs in Rwanda, colleges and universities in Rwanda, and some of them managed to travel abroad. Many of our kids are in different countries in Africa, from West to East Africa, including Southern Africa, and also in Israel. We have a number of students who are studying agriculture in Israel, and also in the United States, Canada, and many places in Europe. So we have over 125 students studying outside, and even one of them being into already a PhD program. The other great thing is that all of them, a number of them want to come back to Rwanda and help contribute to rebuilding the country, thanks to also the governance of this country that really welcomes and empowers the youth here in Rwanda. So Agahozo Shalom is a magical place that I have been privileged to work in, and as Anne used to say, nobody does it alone. There is a world of people who have helped us be the organizations that we are today. If I am correct, Yossi, I think you and Anne were having lunch, I think in Tel Aviv or Jerusalem, and we started talking about the solar project. And I think the force of the force of some individuals made what this place is today. So, thank you.
Thank you. So, what I learned from the kids are two Hebrew terms. They all speak these Hebrew words: Tikkun Halev and Tikkun Olam. Can you explain that?
Yes. Can you hear me okay? Yes. So this village, as I said, was built as a response to the genocide, and we really wanted to create a place where they could find love, they could find family, and they could find people to embrace them and to help them to believe in themselves. And so our core principles of at the village is really Tikkun Halev. And you will see it in the homes that we build. We do not have dormitories, but we have homes with family mothers. We have siblings, big brothers and big sisters. And we also have cousins who are volunteers coming from the United States. We have coming from everywhere across the world, coming from Israel. And we call them cousins because we want them to be part of the family. And we also believe that if we cannot take our kids to the world, we can bring the world to them. And so that's how we do that. And Tikkun Olam is, as our kids are healing, what a better way to also try to repair the world. And so our kids are heavily involved in community service. From the time they start at the village, they take it as a game. They go and play mud, trying to build homes for people, vulnerable people in the community. But this turns into habits. And once they leave Agahozo Shalom, what they want to do is to volunteer, is to help other people. Right now, as we are facing COVID-19, a number of students who have graduated from Agahozo Shalom called us and said, we want to raise money to support our younger brothers and sisters here in Rwanda. Tell us what to do. Somewhere in the United States, somewhere here in the country, and they said, we are sending money. And they have raised more than $5,000, of which we have been able to distribute some of this money to kids who needed support.
Can you also tell us about COVID has had a dramatic effect for all students in Rwanda, but through the lens of Agahozo. Tell us the effect and your plans to reopen.
Yes, thank you. I think, number one, I'm extremely grateful, I would say, for our government that has really, the leadership of this country has done everything to stop the spread of the virus. We had, I think, our first case in March, around on March 12th or 13th, and I think on the 16th we had a ministerial directive to close all schools. We had about 48 hours to send all of our students home, but that was for the entire country. I think on March 21st, the entire country went on to lockdown until May 4th or May 5th. And so, and this has enabled the sort of the country to mitigate the risk of spreading. Today, I think as of yesterday, we have 1,001 cases, and with about 100,000, over 100,000 people who have been tested. Sadly, we have lost 2 people to the virus, but I'm pleased to also say that all of our kids are safe. We are in constant discussion with them, and also thanks to people who have been extremely supportive to us, we have raised funding locally, and some through our graduates and some through people in the private sector here, to support our kids. And also internationally, we've raised, I think, a little bit over $270,000. And this is helping us to find a response to COVID in preparation to reopening the school in September. So the Ministry of Education was trying in a phased way to move to a system that starts from September to June. And so since we were already on lockdown, they decided that schools will reopen in September. So that's pretty much what we are preparing for, adding new classrooms, revamping our dining hall. And also we've just built a new learning community of which we will be hoping to bring in a number of visitors coming from Israel, hopefully.
Amazing. We are overwhelmed with questions for the ambassador. So, JC, we want to say thank you. Stay on, because maybe some people have, but people can make donations by going to the Agos Shalom website. I'm a regular small donor and privileged to support the work, and probably applications to be a cousin, to be a volunteer for September as well, because at SID Israel we want to encourage more and more of these connections. Thank you. So Janet, I'm seeing all sorts of questions, agriculture, other thing, take it away.
Thank you. So first of all, I have an idea, because Ambassador, we could, I know that we only have a few minutes left, we could stay on another 2 hours to get through all the questions that I've been collecting from people, which shows you the amazing interest. What I would like to do is ask you to share your details with me so that I can then send you, and for everyone else, I've put my email on the chat box. That way everyone can send me questions and I can follow up with you on each one of them, because I think they all deserve detailed answers. If I want to just summarize a couple that we can still get through though, one of them is, what are the 3 top areas you see for cooperation between Israel and Rwanda? And another one is really how people who are interested in getting in agricultural products and initiatives, where do they start? If they want to give fertilizers, products, agrochemicals, where do they start? And we'll need you to unmute first.
Thank you. Thank you. As you mentioned, unless you have 2 hours to discuss this, otherwise we cannot exhaust it. Maybe before I answer the questions, to just add of JC has said about how the government has been dealing with the COVID-19. He mentioned it. From the first day we got the first affected person, proper measures were put in place, including putting into quarantine all people coming from abroad. Later on, there was a lockdown, and guidelines were put by the Ministry of Health. The guidelines which are provided by the World Health Organization: face masks, sanitizer, hand sanitizers, and social distancing. But it really worked because the enforcement, the enforcement was good, and also the way the contact tracing was done was very helpful. As he has just mentioned, yesterday we had in total so far just over 1,000 cases from the start, and 443 have recovered. We still have 556 active cases, and unfortunately 2 people have succumbed to the COVID. But what is important, what you had just mentioned, so far we have had 140,249 tests, which is very considerable, because immediately after the crisis started, we looked for the ways of having this equipment for testing, production of masks, of face masks, and the hand sanitizer. So the situation is not alarming, it's good, and schools are opening in September. Some other like places of worship, hopefully they'll be opening. But and as he said, every 15 days, the cabinet chaired by the president has been taking place to evaluate and assess the situation. And daily, we have briefs by the ministry showing the status every day. As for the questions, 3 areas of cooperation, definitely number 1 would be agriculture. Rwanda is agriculture based. Our economy is based on agriculture. More than 60% of the people, their main activity is farming. And we want to transform this farming from just some farming to have what you eat to commercial farming, from subsistence farming to commercial farming. And the solution is improving the methods of farming, like irrigation, and having proper fertilizers, and seed selections, and seeds production. So we have the students who come here who, when they go back, form cooperatives and try to improve. But that would be the first area to really strengthen the cooperation. Other sectors like ICT, definitely our Minister of ICT and Innovation was here last year, and we are very much keen to cooperate with Israel in terms of innovation in ICT. Maybe the third one would be about tourism. Tourism is very important for us. We have launched the flights, direct flights. We need people to fill the flights to come to Rwanda. You've seen how Rwanda is beautiful. We need people to come and visit Rwanda. And I know Israelis really travel a lot.
Well, so the Israeli who's probably been most to Rwanda is His Excellency partner in doing the solar field, and this is before the direct flight, so he was able to go with the Prime Minister on the first direct flight that you mentioned. So shout out to Chaim Osman. Apologies to Gabi Ashkenazi, the Foreign Minister. Maybe next time we're running out of time. But Your Excellency, there are all these people that do want to follow up with you. So congratulations, and I know that Alon and Maria maybe want to host a roundtable. Since you've identified agriculture as the key thing, to bring together the companies and the NGOs to sit with you. we'll make sure that there's a follow-up along and Maria. We're out of time and we've just begun, but hopefully it's given people the taste. I want to say more cozy to you and to all the participants. You know, we tried to show a music video to capture some of the culture of a country, but there's a new music video that just came out. My Rwandan is a little bit rusty, so maybe in addition to just saying thank you to everybody and all the participants, and it'll be on Facebook Live, and we'll be out there. Since you did speak about COVID, and also congratulations on really limiting the impact and serving as a model for that. Maybe we'll allow you to introduce this new music video that is of your most favorite and famous performers.
You want me to introduce the music?
It's again, I can only make out a little bit what they're saying. Yes. I think they're saying wash hands, wear a mask, and what else are they saying? Because other people are going to watch it in a minute. And tell us who the people are.
First of all, the singers, they are the most prominent singers in the country, the stars in the country. They went together. It's kind of like We Are the World. When all the world singers came together and they sang when there was famine in Ethiopia. So they came together, and the title is Corona. So they wanted to make people aware of Corona. So the main theme is prevention and awareness of the Corona. They are making their advocacy, their campaign, telling people to wear face masks when they are in the public, social distancing, using hand sanitizers and washing hands, using cashless transactions, very important. In Rwanda, by the way, I'm sure Ambassador Roni will agree with me, we are trying to limit the exchange of cash using electronic transfers of money, whatever is possible. And so they are trying to make people aware of this. But beyond Corona, they also talk about some other social issues, aspects like birth control, like drug use, advising kids, advising the youth not to use drugs, advising the people not to limit their birth to be more productive. So it's a very good song, which was done by a group of the best singers in the country.
So before we cut to this song, we've been rejoined by His Excellency.
Yes.
Hi,
Joseph.
Hi, thank you so much for joining. We know you're coming to a virtual ceremony with the Prime Minister.
So I want to apologize first for everyone that I had to go to another meeting, which was the swearing in of our new Director General with the participation of the Prime Minister, the Foreign Minister, the outgoing Director General, and the incoming. And this happens maybe once in 10 years, so I had to go there. Hi, JC. Hi, everyone. Ambassador and the rest, I don't know. I hear Anita is there, but I don't see her. So first of all, apologize. I'm sure that Joseph said everything which I would agree with, so probably you didn't miss me. And I will not start saying what my priorities are. You probably heard. And but I'm happy that JC is here because we're doing so much things together. I just got some money from Moshav to do some new project there in Gozo Shalom. So when JC, you are invited on Saturday for lunch with my 3 mentees from Gozo Shalom. So Moise and Bosco and France and France. What's the name of the third one? Okay, never mind. So you come to lunch. And otherwise, thank you, Joseph, for this event. Probably it was nice. I hope it's recorded so I can watch it later.
Yeah. I still want one more question for you. What we have NGOs and businesses and investors on this Zoom. What message do you have to them about coming to Rwanda?
Yeah, so the message actually is ready because I had a very long meeting we had from Jerusalem, from the African division with all the NGOs in Israel. I don't know if you've been there, Joseph, I'm not sure, but you're not an NGO probably. You're a company. But anyway, yes, so there is a lot to do. I told them frankly, unlike many other countries in Africa, that I have full access to ministers. Really, the accessibility for me here is total, really total. So everything that an NGO wants to do, of course, it has to do it with the government. I mean, it has to be coordinated with the government. This is how it is here. And so it's very easy for me to send a WhatsApp, to call any minister, any head of agency that needs my coordination. And what else I said? I said that the main I would say priorities and needs here are in health and education, but also in other fields like water management, like infrastructure. And in infrastructure, yes, you can put also energy, but energy is an issue here, and I will not open it because they have a lot of plans for energy, and the demand is to increase the demand. This is the challenge here, just to increase the demand. So if the demand will increase, then there is the sky is the limit. And so really the people who from NGOs, there is almost no NGO here. I would say some of them from medicine, art and culture, people with disabilities, a second generation impact. I would say these are organizations that are here. Otherwise, again, all of you are welcome. I'm very open to work with NGOs, and I work with NGOs here, local NGOs. And there is a big NGO community here, and they are very organized, and so it's really easy to do it. That's my answer to you, Joseph.
Well, it's we had to do the solar field, Chaim and I, before you were there, but and there were challenges always being the first, but we had the village. So we encourage all people to take up the ambassador's call to come visit when it opens up, and certainly to invest. With that, here. That's the solar field, which is gorgeous, but we're going to go to the video at this point because we're over time. But Mirakosi to everybody. Thank you to everybody.
Thank you. I'm going to donate blood now, so thank you for everyone. Yes,
that's good.
Second time I do it now.
Thank you.
Okay.
Bye-bye.
Okay, Ronnie.
Okay, to the videotape. Mirakosi to everybody.
agaciro k'ubuzima ntawe utakazi, kwirinda ni ingenzi jya ubimenya, mu bihe by'icyorezo biba akarusho.
Menya ko korona ari indwara ivurwa igakira, n'ikimenyimenyi benshi barayikize, hano iwacu ndetse n'imahanga. Ibanga ni uko isuzumisha ubonye ibimenyetso,
nk'umuriro, gucika intege no gukorora, guhumeka wumva bikugoye n'ibicurane, wishidikanya hamagara ku murongo 114. Ibuka kwambara agapfukamunwa aho ugiye hose,
tureke ingendo zitari ngombwa, tujye mu muheza bamaze kwandura. Korona yo yabyara icyorezo, idufatanya tuzayitsinda. Ababyeyi n'abarezi, abana n'urubyiruko, tukaraba intoki ubudatuza,
duhana intera hagati yacu.
dufasha abana gusubira mu masomo tubaha iby'ingenzi bibafitiye akamaro
tunoza umubano twubaka umuryango ubwuzuzanye ndetse n'ubufatanye ubwumvikane kuboneza urubyaro ku bashakanye babyeyi muganire n'abana musubize ibibazo bibaza kuko ari mwe ba mbere mushinzwe uburere bwabo
korona yo yazari icyorezo nidufatanya tuzayitsinda ababyeyi n'abarezi abana n'urubyiruko dukaraba intoki ubudatuza duhana intera hagati yacu
igihe wishyura cyangwa wishyurwa dukoresha ikoranabuhanga
urubyiruko ejo hacu ni heza kuharinda bisaba gukomeza kubungabunga ubuzima bwacu irinde urinde n'abawe
irinde gutera inda utabiteganyije kuringaniza urubyaro bifasha kurera bitaruhanije iyo maze kuvuga birakureba gutwi tutabiteganyije bihindura inzozi bikagutesa ubuzima buzira umuze busaba ko twirinda ibiyobyabwenge tukirinda ubusambanyi n'urugomo tugashyira imbere ubunimo ingimbi n'abangavu nimwubahiriza inama mugirwa ku buzima bw'imyororokere kugira ngo ejo hanyu habe heza
korona yo yazari icyorezo nidufatanya tuzayitsinda ababyeyi n'abarezi abana n'urubyiruko dukaraba intoki ubudatuza duhana intera hagati yacu
igihe wishyura cyangwa wishyurwa dukoresha ikoranabuhanga
Kazi, shalom.
Shalom, shalom. Toda rabba.
Oh, it's such a great honor, and we're going to organize soon a retreat down to the south to the solar fields and the African village with different technologies, including the off-grid. So we hope you'll be able to join us. Thank you to Maria, our producer, and to Janet Alon and everybody else. Ambassador Adam and everybody. We had a very nice turnout. We'll make sure the recording is available. Shine out, over and out.
Bye.
Bye-bye.